The Iron Claw.
The Claw.
Welcome, guys. This is the Total Movie Recall channel. I'm joined by Paul Tams. How's it going, my friend?
I'm doing well, man. I'm glad I finally got to see this movie. I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it in time for today, but I got out last night and seen it, and a bit to talk about. A bit to talk about.
Yeah, man. Directed by Sean Durkin, I think it is. Starring Jeremy Allen White, Harris Dickinson, and we've got Zac Efron putting in a career best performance here.
Oh, yeah.
So I managed to see this the other night. Obviously, it got a release in America a couple of months ago. I've been dying to see this one. And yeah, it really didn't disappoint at all. Not going to lie, it's not the feel-good hit movie of the year. I didn't come out of this being like, woo!
I want to go straight back in again.
Yeah, absolutely not. But like, I did see it a couple of days ago, and it's 100% stuck with me. I initially gave it like 4 stars coming out cinema, but I think that might end up going up a bit higher, Paul, if I'm being honest, because I haven't stopped thinking about it. But yeah, I thought it was really good. Performances all around the board were absolutely amazing. As I said up front, Zac Efron put in a career best performance here. It's quite an understated performance. He's quite, quiet in the movie, but you can see a lot of emotion behind his eyes, and the shape he's got into for this role is absolutely insane. But you know what? Like, yeah, but he looks like a wrestler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From that time period, I think. But yeah, overall, I really, really enjoyed this film. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. My only one true criticism with it is that when you do a bit more research after the film, you do realize that there is a brother missing out. Now, the director has come out and said he doesn't think the film would have got made if he did include this death, just because of how tragic the story was. But for me personally, this is, we're in a really serious movie here. Like, I think you could have added an extra 20 minutes to half an hour and included the brother. And that would have definitely, I think, me coming out of cinema, that would have gave it possibly like a 5-star rating. But because they left that brother out, and they did such a good job in the movie evaluating the relationships with the brothers, I just thought that was a little bit of a misstep. But yeah, overall, really enjoyed it. The Von Erichs, really tragic story, man. But Paul, what did you think about, just a little bit of context here, guys? Paul's a pretty big wrestling fan, aren't you? So like you've got more like knowledge about this stuff than what I did. But Paul, what did you think about the Iron Claw?
Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic movie. Highly anticipated. Obviously, America got it a bit earlier, so we had to wait a few months. The same with these A24 movies for a reason. Us in the UK need to wait months later, but we finally got out and see it. I was familiar with the story of the Von Erich brothers, not overly familiar with it. I sort of knew what had happened, but I hadn't really watched any sort of documentaries or anything like that on it. I just knew, as a wrestling fan, stuff that had happened with them. Like you said, as a fan of wrestling, I was going to see this movie regardless of whatever it was. It's a wrestling movie. We don't get many of them. The last big one was probably The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke, which another fantastic movie. Yeah, it is a tragic movie. It's it hit home. You said on your Letterboxd review that as being a brother, it hit home a bit more. It happened the same with me, to be honest. We had I forget the actor's name, Holt McCallany, who plays the dad, Fritz.
Oh yeah,
who was an absolute arsewipe in this movie. I understand what they were going for, because back in the days, it was set in like late 70s, early 80s. It was tough dads, crack the belts sort of thing. But obviously, in the film, he was a wrestler who didn't achieve his goals or achieve his dreams, and he was pushing it onto his sons, and pushing it to the point of breaking point for these lads that just wanted to enjoy wrestling as a sport and as a job. And he was pushing them to win the championships and climb the ladders in the company. And he pushed them too far. I thought the setting of the movie, the way it looked visually, reminded me of that sort of early 80s wrestling. If you ever go back and watch it, the smoky arenas, and the smaller crowds and the 80s sort of text on the screen when they're introducing the wrestlers and their weight class and stuff like that. It worked really well. That with me though, I give it a 4.5 out of 5. I think this was nearly a 5 out of 5 for me. If not, the pacing slightly in the middle was a bit off, where not really bad, but I was getting emotional over things that were happening in this movie. But before I could really move on, the film was moving on a little bit too quick for me, where I wasn't really resonating too much. There was a brother's death in this movie. I won't say who it is for spoilers, but there's one of them that the movie didn't do enough for me to really grasp onto that, or the tragic thing that happened to this brother. But apart from that, literally apart from a little bit of pacing issues, I thought this was an absolute solid movie, man. I loved it.
I totally agree about Holt McCallany. Like, he is phenomenal in this film. He was really good in Mindhunter. That was the last thing I saw him in. He's a bit of a Fincher regular, actually. He's had like a few small parts in his films. But I actually, to be honest, right, they didn't over-villainize him, which I appreciated, because at the end of the day, the brothers, like the boys, still loved their father, and the father loved their boys. And it was like, it, like you say, it was a time and place where, men were a bit like overpowering in that sort of aspect. And yeah, he was wanting that belt for himself, not his boys. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the other thing I just want to comment on as well, like you were saying, I think the way they depicted the 80s was magnificent, and the actual filmmaking that goes on in this film, especially with some of the editing choices, Paul, I found really fascinating, like especially when it comes to like music and stuff like that, how it would come in, it would come out. Like a few editing choices were really, really good. But yeah, this is a fantastic emotional film. Like you were saying, I've got a brother myself. It was one of them instant ones. You come out of it, you text your brother, you go, "I love you." You need to see the Iron Claw. I'll wait for the message.
We should hang out a bit more.
Yeah. 100%, 100%. But yeah, the mother as well. You sort of got the impression right at the start of the film that she wasn't really gonna, stand up for these boys. Yeah, 100%. But you know what it is? I spent 45 minutes of the film trying to think who was this actress again playing the mum, not realizing it was the mum out of Liar Liar.
Yeah, that's right.
I haven't seen her in anything else. But yeah, highly recommend. Oh, before we go, Paul, what did you think about Ric Flair in the actor?
Oh my God, that, you know what? I take it back, the pacing. That's what brought the movie down slightly from a 5 out of 5 to me. I could see him. It was so funny because I've seen so much Rick. I've seen that clip that the promo that he's doing, the actual Ric Flair one, and bless him, he tried his best, but there's only one Ric Flair on planet Earth, and ain't no one mimicking him. Do you know what I'm saying? So bless him. Aaron Dean Eisenberg, I've got his name here, the guy who tried to do his Ric Flair, man. He looked like him enough. He had sort of his mannerisms, the way he walked and stuff, but Ric Flair's got a distinct voice and a distinct sort of demeanor about him, and he couldn't quite capture it, could he? The wrestling I thought was fantastic, and I thought it was well choreographed. MJF, who is credited at the end as an executive producer, when the credits come up, he's a active wrestler in AEW at the moment, and he's in the film slightly. You notice him for in a little bit of a montage bit as a wrestler with long blonde hair, even though he's got short brown hair in real life. So I only sort of recognized him from his face. Apparently he produced it and helped choreograph the fighting, which I thought was really good as well.
Yeah, all the matches were filmed really well. Like you say, they really depicted that. Sometimes when you watch these sports films or boxing films or whatever, and they show shots of the ring and the fighters fighting, I don't know, it sometimes looks a bit fake, or looks a bit CGI, but this just depicted the right era at the right time, and the way the audience looked and stuff. It all just looked well shot. Well shot, I'll say.
I've got to ask as well. I've got to quickly ask, man, what are your thoughts on Zac Efron not really getting any Oscar buzz? I've seen a lot of people say I don't think A24 even put this movie forward to the Oscars for anything, which
seems
I
very
think is weird
bizarre.
because
That
Zac Efron is. Zac Efron, this movie. I've seen a few Zac Efron films, obviously High School Musical and Baywatch remake and all this. And I was watching this film and I was like, that's not Zac Efron. That is the character he's playing to me. I just did not see Zac Efron whatsoever.
I think there's a possibility he's been snubbed. I think one of the reasons why you could look at this performance and go, maybe he wasn't, is because it is, like I said up top, it's quiet. Like he doesn't have an awful lot of dialogue. It's all like facial emotion, like what's he thinking, but he does it really well. I think there might have been a snub there, Paul. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, man, thanks for watching this review. It was just a little quick one. Get our thoughts out there. Highly recommend it. It's probably a 4.5-star film.
I give it 4.5. Quickly before we go, somebody on Twitter today announced, somebody who sort of announces when movies are coming out, that it's coming out on Blu-ray next month. And I retweeted it saying, by the time I get round to want to rewatch this movie, it'll be a 5.
Yeah, 100%.
Because, like I said, it ain't one you're going to be rushing back to watch again. It's a harrowing, it's a heartbreaking movie to watch.
It's the drama, so just know what know what you're getting into when you go and watch this film, guys. You're not going to be coming out being like, woo! You're not going to be doing any
WWE on.
No Ric Flair woos when you're coming out.
No, you are not. No.
But yeah, guys, thanks for watching the review. Catches fortnightly on a Thursday night at 7 p.m., 8 p.m. for our live streams. We'll see you then. Goodbye.
Take it easy, guys.